Alright, Uncle Sam FM here with the second video on this reboot of my Play MLS game. I have started my preseason. In the last video I showed you guys sort of how I set up my training. And my training, everything I do really is kind of all around my system. The way I scout, the way the players that I sign. It all revolves around the overall system that I want my club to play tactically. And so this video I thought I would look at my tactics, sort of how I set my tactics up. And I've said this in other videos. This is not anything of my own invention really. There's not much in here that you could really say that I came up with. I've stolen everything that I do. Over the course of the video, I'll talk about specific people, specific sources where I've gotten what I do tactically. And so let's just go ahead and look at it. This is my formation. I do a 4-1-2-3 DM wide. That's the game's default title for this formation. Back four, I have. What I try to do is put in a style of play that has balance. So if I'm pressing, which I do, I like to press. The system is kind of patterned after the Guardiola system. I like that style of play. Obviously, that's sort of how I coach in real life. But you can't say that everything in this is going to be Pep. It's not going to all be Pep Guardiola, his style, his setup. But I press and I possess. That's kind of the way that I like to play. I want to go get the ball quickly, as high up the pitch as I can, and then I want to keep it away from the other team. And the result is that I usually dominate possession in my league. I typically, in my first season, I don't expect to be over 60%, but by the second season on, I usually do get over 60%. When I compare my possession, I try not to compare it to real life numbers. It's really hard to get over 70%, and if you do, you're just you're not really creating anything. You're just holding on to the ball, which you could argue that's sort of what Pep does, but they do have a purpose to what they do. And so I also try to have a purpose in FM with the ball. I want to score, but I also do want to have a good high possession number. So the results are, victories, points. I also to statistics that sort of show that my team plays the way that I want them to is at the end of the year, obviously I'll dominate possession, but I'll also dominate in a statistic like fouls and yellow cards. And you say, well, what difference does that make? Well, I've got 3 guys on tackle hard. My front 3 tackle hard, and they will get yellow cards from time to time, even every once in a while a red card. Often those guys will pick up a accumulation of yellow card suspension, which in MLS you get 5 yellow cards, then you get a game suspended. Then every 3 games after that, every 3 yellow cards after that, you get a suspension. So it's 5, 8, 11, 14, etc. And usually I have the lowest numbers of those. And so what that shows to me is that even though I'm tackling hard and I'm pressing, which by the way, also my fullbacks will get cards because they press, they get forward, they provide width. So they're having to track back, and often when they're tracking back, they'll commit fouls and get cards. But even with those factors, the fact that my front 3 are tackling hard, the fact that my fullbacks are having to track back and commit fouls, I will have fewer yellow cards and fewer fouls than the rest of the league usually. And what that tells me is that I've got the ball so much that I'm committing fewer fouls than the other teams. I'm just not committing fouls because I have the ball. And so I think that all kind of shows that the team plays sort of the way that I want them to. And this is how I have them set up. So we'll look first at team instructions. Again, I try to go balance. So I start with a counter team instructor, whatever you call that. I think that's team shape. I start, so we're team mentality. I start counter, and you'd say, why do you start defensively? Well, it balances out because I push my defensive line higher. It raises closing down. Pushing your defensive line raises a lot of things. It provides balance, is what it does. So the risk that I'm taking by pushing my line up, which increases closing down, all of that, I balance out by going with a counter. Now, if the team I'm playing against is weak, then I'll go with a standard shape, which I will in the next friendly that we're going to watch, because the team I'm playing is not very good. If the team I'm playing also goes defensively, they start sitting back, they put in more, you can tell that their roles are defensive, then I will push up to standard in that situation also. But so to get balance with my counter tactic, push the defensive line. I also raise the tempo. I like to try to keep a balanced tempo as close to sort of the middle as I can. I don't want to go much higher because I'm not looking to. I don't want them to rush. But I do push the tempo a little bit. Again, that's to kind of balance the tactic. I increase the width a little bit to fairly wide, again, to balance the tactic. I do like my team, because we're a pressing team, I do like for them to prevent short goalkeeper distribution. I don't want the goalkeeper to. I want him to be pumping 50-50 balls up that I hopefully will win. And to try and increase my possession, I have play out of defense. I don't want them hoofing the ball down the field, and then I have them working the ball into the box. I don't like my players to just sit on the ball, so I don't do the look for overlap or look for underlap. I want them to, for the most part, I want them to make smart decisions with the ball, and I feel like if they're sitting on it, which that's in the past, in my experience, if the team is playing look for overlap, that means they're holding up the ball. They're waiting for players from the back to come forward. The way I have my team set up, that's going to happen. They're going to have overlapping fullbacks. They're going to have overlapping, the center striker will have the center mid pushing. So he'll have his overlaps, but I don't want him forcing it. I don't want him sitting on the ball and, forcing the weight for overlaps, especially my midfielders. If those center midfielders are all hanging onto the ball, then we're going to lose possession in the midfield a lot. I do have my players playing whipped crosses. That's more of a really because of the kind of players I get. I don't get big target men, and so I don't want them lofting crosses up into the box. The lower crosses work better for the players that I get with this system. I don't want big target men strikers. I prefer my strikers. I play the false nine. I prefer my strikers to be better with the ball at their feet. Those are the kind of players I look for at every position, and so whipped crosses helps me to really maximize what I get out of my center strikers. And also even my wingers. I don't increase my closing down on team instructions, and I do that. I do my pressing with two things. Pushing the defensive line increases closing down automatically, but then I also use player instructions for my pressing, and we'll look at that in a second. I don't like doing the get stuck in. I don't want everybody on the field just kicking and stomping on opposing players. I have in the past used the roam from positions instructions, but that's another one where I try to use player instructions on that. It's just kind of the way I prefer to do it. Again, those are ones that I need to see if the player can do it before I just give it to everybody. And I don't I don't necessarily want my team all just roaming every which way. I kind of feel like my formation is set up the way it is to provide spacing, And so we'll look at that. Spacing is important in every sport, really, but football, obviously. So that's team instructions. Player instructions. We'll just start in the back. My goalkeeper, I have them distributing. It should be over opposition defense. That's funny. I'll fix that. I want them distributing to the fullbacks. Well, center backs, ideally. So yeah, I must have made a little goofy mistake that I did. Distribution type, short kicks is, I might have him roll it out some, but with this goalkeeper, I'm going to have him take short kicks, and we'll look at that here in a second. Center backs, well, I'll tell you what, let's start from the front because I want to talk about my back line at the end. Okay, so my center striker, I have him shooting less often, which you say, he's the striker. Why don't you have him shooting more often? I don't like long shots. I've never liked long shots in FM. I certainly don't want them doing it more often. If I have a player who has 20 in long shots, I might take off the shoot less often, but I'm not going to give him shoot more often. I don't want him hoofing shots, just clearing shots all over the bar. Another kind of reason is, maybe long shots to me are a lot of wasted possession. You're taking hopeful shots from distance. It frustrates me because I want to see some possession and then find create a good chance. And long shots are not a good chance to me. You might make one every once in a while, but to me, I'll score more often in chances created by not taking a long shot than I'm going to score taking long shots. Sometimes you'll see somebody hit a long shot and you think, oh, maybe I should turn up the long shots. Meanwhile, he misses 12 long shots. So give me those 12 possessions and I bet I can get 2 goals out of those. So, I definitely don't like long shots. Never have. And, games maybe it's changed to where it would be beneficial to take more, but I just don't. It's just not my style of play, so I don't do it. I do have them closing down more, obviously. That's the highest he can go. And I have him marked tighter. I generally want the other team's back line to all be marked tight, and I want the center midfielders to be marked tight. And so you'll see that's kind of how I have my player instructions set up. And I have them tackling harder. I want them to try and win that ball from that defensive line. Those center backs are the worst players with the ball in their feet on pretty much every team. So I want my strikers, my front three, tackling hard to get that ball. And every once in a while, I'll steal a goal that way. In my last game, I think I had started counting goals where my front three either got a steal or tackled the ball away from the back line, and it was at like 5 in one season. So I want my front three to be very, very aggressive against the back line because, again, those are the worst guys with the balls at their feet. My wings, they play as inside forwards, and the instructions are the same for both. Getting balance on left and right side of the field. I have they sit narrower again because they're inside forwards. I want them pushing in. They already cut inside with the ball, and I have them closing down much more. I want them pressing all over the field. I have them tackling harder, just like the center striker. I do allow them to roam from position to look for space, to find the gaps in the defense and get the ball and hopefully get it in good position and do something with it. They do dribble more. I don't like that, but typically they're my best dribblers. They are, if they do get a steal, if they do tackle the ball from the back line, I do want them taking the ball in on goal. And most of the time they're also collecting through killer passes from my attacking center mid. So I want them, I guess if anybody's going to be dribbling more, they're the ones that I would want to be doing that. And I also have shoot less often for them. And they do also have more risky passes as a default. That's another one I'm not crazy about, but again, if everything's going the way it's supposed to be, they're getting the ball deep in the opposition, side of the field. So they're in the best position to have that instruction. That's in any style of play, the attacking third of the field is where you want the team taking more risks. So while ideally, I think I would rather them not be doing more risky passes. That's just kind of what they do. So then we'll slide back here to my attacking center mid. He is also closing down to the max. I want him pressing all over the field, especially to win the ball from the other team's defensive midfielder, other center midfielders. He, by default, as an attack on the attack role, gets forward more often. I do have him doing more risky passes because I want him spraying the ball to the front three in dangerous positions. Like everyone else, he shoots less often. I do have him moving into the channels, attack, sort of. He's another guy I want looking for the space. I want him to find the space. See, he's roaming from position as well. I want him getting that ball and then playing it into the front three. All right. My other center mid is a deep line playmaker, so he'll be sitting back more. He holds his position, but I do also have him playing more direct passing, so that his passing is just a little longer than everybody else on the pitch, because he's holding his position. I want him to be able to he's kind of a conduit. I want him to be able to switch play. I want him to find the inside forward, running deep. I want him to hit the overlapping fullback, the end of the corner. And so I do also have him marking tighter. I have him closing down more instead of much more, because it's one of those old FM things. I don't like both of my center mids to be closing down at the same level, because I don't want both of them charging to the same guy, leaving that huge gap. That's one part of it. But then also, now in the formation is when I do have the guys start holding their shape a little better. And so that would be him. Next would be the defensive midfielder. I have him play as an anchor man because I want him sitting back. He's really kind of a ball winner. But I don't have him tackling hard because I don't want him getting yellow cards. At least not as, because if he gets a yellow card in the first 5 minutes, then I'm sort of in trouble because I've got to ease off his tackling, and I don't want him to get a red. So by default he dribbles less, shoots less, and makes fewer risky passes. I also have him closing down less than the front five, because I want him holding his shape better. I want him being in front of the back line. He helps form my defensive triangle with my center backs, and I want him kind of filling that space in front of the center backs. And so that's what I do with my defensive mid. Fullbacks, I do have them closing down more, not much more, but more. They are kind of responsible for that gap behind the wings, and so that's how they're closing down. Again, as we move further back, I want the guys holding their shape a little better. They do. I do want them closing down more though, because I want them closing down those wings. I don't want to give up. I don't want the opposition wings to have the ball as long as they want out wide. So they do in attack. They do. I don't have them marking tighter though, but they do stay wider. They're providing width. I want them to be overlapping the wings, and so if they're wider, they're attacking that space in front better. I do have them dribbling less, which is an odd instruction probably for an aggressive overlapping fullback. But again, I like to possess the ball, and so I don't want him dribbling and getting it taken away because he can't dribble, or because he's trying to dribble past he's trying to force a run with the ball. He also shoots less often like everybody else, and I don't want him really trying a lot of through balls. Fullback is another position where I might adjust these individual instructions. Maybe if I have an outstanding fullback, I'll take off the dribble less. I won't give him dribble more, but I'll let him have a little more freedom in choosing when to dribble. And then if I have a great passing fullback, I'll take off the fewer risky passes. Again, I'm not going to put more risky, but I'll allow him to have a little more choice in that. And then I have my center backs. And center back is a position where I have kind of a system that I've used for a long, long time. And this goes back, well, the whole back line goes back to, there's a member at the SI forums called Buxton, and he had what he called the swoosh system. And I'll show you sort of how that shapes up in a moment. But this is we'll call it the defend role center defender. And he closes down less. I have him, I want my two center backs to hold their shape. And so if they're charging up, which is going to be their tendency because my line is pushed higher, then they're leaving their space open. And so I want them holding their shape in the back. And so I have him closing down less. And obviously fewer risky passes. Don't want him trying a bunch of through balls. Now, again, if I get a really, really good passing center defender, and that's actually the kind of defender that I try to get. I try to get good passing center backs. Then I will take off the fewer risky passes. But by default, I leave it on. My other defender is on cover. And he, again, fewer risky passes. But he closes down much less. He closes down even less than the other center back. Because he's just kind of your cover. I want him to kind of function almost like a sweeper. So that's how, at least defensively. So that's how I set up my back line. And if you look, the old Buxton swoosh system, it looks kind of like a Nike swoosh. So you've got my right back Machado and my left back Lundqvist, both pushed up. They're a little higher up the pitch, and then it swoosh. It creates that Nike swoosh look, and that was how Buxton set up his back line way, way back. You're going back probably almost 10 years, more than 10 years. And so I haven't even seen him around in forever. He probably stopped playing the game because he got a life. But so that's how I set that up. Again, most of it is nothing revolutionary. A lot of players do what I do with their tactics. This works for me. And look, I don't just leave it like this. You can't. The old plug and play system in FM is gone. You can't just put in a tactic now and win every game. So this is what works for me. In a match, I do try to make it to where I don't have to make a lot of adjustments in game. But in a game, if the team starts coming at me, I'll lower to defend. It's still balanced because of pushing up my D line. And if the other team is sitting back, then I'll throw out my standard. I'll go standard with mentality. And I do also use a very fluid team shape. I've always been of the philosophy that everybody does everything. I want when I have the ball, I want 11 attackers, and when I don't have the ball, I want 11 defenders. And very fluid creates that. It's a lot of tacticians, FM tacticians will say that very fluid is the highest risk team shape. And so, but again, I feel that starting counter, and working off of that kind of provides more balance to that. And it's just my style of play. If you prefer to go fluid or whatever, very structured, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you how to play, but this is how I play. I like, for a possession style, very fluid has always worked best for me. And you can play possession without it, or with one of the others. There's no doubt about it. You can get 60% using one of the others. But this is just how, in my experience, I like watching my team play the most when we're on very fluid team shape. So that's how I do it, right? Now, a couple of things I have to do. I won't go into set pieces yet. I'll look at them briefly, but again, nothing crazy, revolutionary there. But I do have 3 tactics. So this version of my 4-3-3, this is how I play when my opponent has one striker. when the idea is I've got 2 center backs marking 1 striker. That's a old. That's a pretty old, way to handle your formation. I kind of picked up on it from Bielsa, but he wasn't the first, I'm sure. But he would put 2 backs on 1 striker, and if the other team rolled out 2 strikers, he would have a 3rd center back. So I kind of do that with I call it a 3-4-3. It kind of functions that way. But in my 3-4-3, it's like the Pep 3-4-3 where the defensive mid drops back between the center backs, and that role is called the halfback role. So he drops back, and then I have my fullbacks on wing-back attack so that they get even further up the pitch than they would. So they kind of come up into the midfield, create that 3-4-3, and that's what I use when the other team goes with 2 strikers. If I'm ahead and I'm really just trying to grind out a win, I have a 4-1-4-1 where my wingers actually drop back. They're still on support, but I do have them. As you can see in the instructions here. I still have them getting further forward because I do want them getting up the pitch, but I also want to make sure that they get back. This one does just a little better job of creating the 2 banks of 4, with a guy plugging the gap in between. And I do also have my fullbacks on support duty in this role rather than attack duty. It's just, the idea is just to keep them further back. So as the opponent tries to push the ball down the field against me, I do a better job of, the fullbacks aren't getting quite as far up. And so that's how I kind of handle the formation-wise. Set pieces, nothing crazy. My corner kicks, this one I stole from Rashidi at Bust the Net. This is one where he's got guys outside the box, and he has the taker with mixed instructions. But a lot of times what happens is the ball winds up out here to one of these 3 guys, and they've got a free shot on goal. And I've scored a few off of it. It's a really good routine. I do have my own. This is a short corner. I coach at Real Life, and I prefer the short corner. I want to keep the ball, and so I've got a couple of short corner routines. And this is one of them that was the easiest to set up in FM. And then I don't remember where I got this one, but this is a false short corner. This is where you have somebody here acting like he's offering a short option, but you still give the taker sort of a mixed, he gives him mixed directions on who to take the ball. So he's looking for the best option, really, is what it amounts to. And on defend, so this is how I defend corners in real life. I don't put anybody on the posts, and I don't get scored on a lot on corners, so I just feel like putting guys on the post is kind of wasting players. So I do have somebody marking the 6-yard box from the near post. So he's marking that zone in front of the box at the 6. And then I've got a guy who marks the center. So I feel like that these 2 guys kind of serve the function of your near post, far post players, but they're also, they're covering zones so that that's just how I do it in real life, and it usually works. I do have a guy closing down the corner. He's out here to sort of take away the short option. And then I've got these other guys man marking. Obviously my center backs are man marking. They're best headers. They're tall players. And the other 3 are marking. And then I try to have out here. I try to have 2 pacey players. Using my fastest guys. So I've got my left wing and my center striker out here, and same on the left. I think. Well, I switch wings. So, but that's my defend corner tactic. If you have something better, keep it. It's just what I do. On free kicks, I have a couple routines. I have a short routine. I always like to have a short routine because I like having the ball. And so a short routine will usually do better at keeping the ball. But I do have also a free, the best header free kick, where just trying to find the best header. I've got my center backs going forward, my striker, my defensive midfielder is actually often a good header because he just is. And then I'll have a winger up there, and so yeah, throw-ins. I've got a long throw and a short throw routine. Don't do anything phenomenal there. Short throw, I'm really just trying to keep the ball. Long throw, again, just, putting something hopeful in the box. And so that's how I do my tactics. So blah, blah, blah. Let's play a match. We'll see it work. I'm on my tour of Brazil. I like to start every season with a tour. Get the guys out of the country. Focus on football. And we see their teams playing a 5-3-2. And so I will be playing my 3-4-3. Places up for grabs, fellers. Let's go and get that done. Okay. Then tactics. Well, let me end the pep talk. I don't know if you have to push end pep talk, but I'm trying to remember to do that from now on. And 3-4-3, and they're defensive, so I'm gonna start with a standard. And here we go. So yeah, this is just sort of one of the things I've always done in FM. I've always started with a tour. I like. There's multiple reasons. For one, I'm trying to get my team fit. So a tour puts forward matches, and a goal on the corner kick, winger with it, and from Louis Gill. Yeah, pretty standard. So yeah, I do not like my camera. I'm gonna fix this. I like doing the data analyst. A little more zoomed in though. Height's okay. Yeah, I like to be able to see. I'm an old FM gamer, so I started playing the old 2D patch engine with the circles and whatnot. So I like being able to see the whole field, see how my shape is holding up, see how they're playing. So touring does a couple things. Obviously fitness, right? You play 4 matches in I think it's like 10 days. Let's see, 3, maybe 12. So yeah, you're getting a lot of matches in tight space. But I also like to try and raise my profile in certain countries. Brazil is one of those. Another goal by Gill as I'm running away with this one already. Which, by the way, Itapuerna, I don't know anything about this team. I can't even tell you what division they're in. But they're obviously not very good. So, most of the matches I schedule in a preseason, I'm trying to get fit and raise morale. So, but yeah, Brazil's one of the countries I like to have a higher profile in because I scout Brazil a lot. Brazil's a great, obviously everybody probably does that. They produce a plethora of quality players, and so in a league like MLS, a lot of the players that you can pluck from Brazil at a good price they're high quality MLS players, and so I like to get my name out there in Brazil. And one of the ways I do that is tour. So I try and tour there every year or two. They've created an attack, might be something to look at. So yeah. Other countries I like to tour. I like to tour Japan, China, and that's to get my profile up there, because those are good countries for merchandising. So yeah, try to get my brand out there. I'll tour a European country occasionally, but usually I stick to Asia and Brazil with my tours. Yeah, we are absolutely running away with this one. Eric Alexander with a shot from outside. Yeah. Yeah, so tactical influences. Starting. When I first got on the scene, I really kind of, like a lot of people, I'm sure the first site I started going to was Sorted Out SI, and while I was there, I came across the legend Cleon. Let me do this real quick. But, as you can see, tactic working pretty much like it. This is only my second match with this team with the tactic. But already 66% with the ball, 15 shots, 7 on target. Looking good so far. Again, team's terrible, but they're at least doing what I want them to be doing against a terrible team. It could be that we're playing a bad team and winning, but still not playing the way I want us to play. And tell the guys that. Well, no. That's not what I want to do, because I'm going to sub all of them out. So as you watch me do this, I'm subbing out the entire team. This is how I do my preseason. So for the first 4 matches, I will start my... Ooh, Leonardo's injured. I forgot to... I'll leave Senderos in a little while. Yeah, so the way I do my preseason is I'll start my first team in the first match, the first preseason match. And then at halftime, I'll sub my entire second team in. And they will play the second half. Then I'll go to the next preseason friendly, and I'll switch it. I'll start the second team, and then sub my first team in for the second half. And I had my second team in to start this match, because this is the second one. And so now I'm going to bring in my first team. Even my second team, obviously we're playing a bad team, because my second team took a 4-0 halftime lead. So let's see what the first team can do. Theoretically, they should be able to get to double digits, because they're playing against the tired Itaperuna, and they're going to sub in their second team. So, but anyway, it's all about fitness, getting my guys fit. I'll do that for the first 4 matches, and then in the 5th match, the 11 that I put in is play the whole 90. So on my 5th preseason friendly, I'll have the first team play the whole 90, and then the 6th friendly, I'll have my second team play the whole 90, and that helps me to get at least 22 guys fit. If I can get my first 22 fit, I'll worry about the others, the rest of the squad later. And then in a future video, I'll show you how I kind of set up. I saved some specific selections. I think I've already shown that in one of my videos for the last game, but I'll show you how to do it for this game as well. So anyway, back to tactical influences. Yeah, Cleon really helped me to understand a lot of the game. Probably what he does better than anyone that I've seen in the FM community is analyze matches. He's got really great posts, blogs about analyzing a match. When I read one of his articles that he posts or that he's posted on SI, what I'm looking at specifically is not so much the tactic he's using, but how he's analyzing it in match. And so usually it's pretty brilliant. So yeah, I learned from him. Then as I dove in, I learned from guys like WW Fan, who is, he's a legend around the scene. He had a whole site, and there were a lot of contributors at his site. I can't remember if there was a name for it. I can't use an acronym. I can't remember the name for it, but a lot of how this setup is in FM, how the in-game tactical creator is done, was sort of based on their work. And a lot of his philosophies I've always still used. You know, the defensive triangle, that was a concept that I got from him. That, you know, the idea of always having three guys on defend duty. And so even in the most attacking of tactics, so you've got a defensive triangle back. The reality is it's a sound football principle in real life, but, you know, put it in FM. He got it. You know, he made sure he explained how to use it in FM, and so that's something I got from him, and I've always used. And now guys on the scene like Rashidi is a tactical genius. I would recommend his blog, Bust the Net, his YouTube channel. He puts up a lot of videos playing FM, and he knows what he's doing tactically. He's got a really good overall understanding of the game, and so I do enjoy watching his videos. And so he's been kind of a recent, whatever, I don't want to call it inspiration, but influence, I guess, is a good way to put it. So first team a little disappointing in the second half. Did not score any goals. We did actually get more shots though, but we only added 2 shots on target. So a lot of hopeful shots there. Still, we upped the possession to 70%. So obviously, you know, we pretty much totally dominated this game. I don't worry about results as much as kind of just how the team played. When I say I mean preseason results. Preseason, it's about getting fit, getting morale up, and then, you know, watching how your team plays the tactic. And that's about as well as, you know, they played it about like I would want them to be playing it. So I'm happy with the result, the way you played. And so yeah, next video I'll probably be either getting ready to or on into the season. So we look at my schedule. Still got 2 more matches on this tour. Then I come home for what in FM, the first season you play in a training camp in FM if you're in MLS. And so I'll have my training camp where I'm playing the Deltas, playing Brazos Valley, Seattle, and Portland before going to the Simple Invitational, which is a preseason tournament that I have in my own file. It's in Portland, and they invited, I believe it's a Swedish team. At least the way I have it set up in the file. So I'll get to play Östersunds, FK from Sweden, and then the Red Bulls in Portland. And then I kind of set up my own little friendly cup where I invited 3 really, really poor teams from Texas. Called it the Lone Star Invitational. And before I wrap up the preseason and get ready to start MLS. So I will see you next time. After I have started my MLS season or getting ready to, and we might look at how, you know, maybe look at my staff, because I am still trying to fill out my staff, and I don't do anything different there. I just I'll go to, you know, the search screen or not search screen, the advert screen, and place an advert. Try to get staff like that. I try to do it as legitimately as I can. So, but any questions or comments, any suggestions, please put them in the comments of the video. And this is Uncle Sam signing off.